So we were going through the Scala basics and some variable declaration, the types, how to use where and val, when to use where and val, what are the properties, what happens when you use where, what happens when you use val. Similarly, we were discussing about the data types, whether it supports the primitive types or not, how the conversion happens based on the your variable assignments. So we will see in advance and we'll see how we can utilize Scala for basic programming. So let's start. Okay, so today's module is Scala Essentials and deep dive into Scala. So what are the objectives of today's session? So data types and lazy value in Scala, variable in Scala. So some of the things which you will see today, we have covered it yesterday in bits and pieces. So we'll see again how we can manipulate all those stuff. Control structure in Scala, functions and procedures in Scala, collections in Scala, reserve words and pattern matching in Scala, and enumeration in Scala. And we have ternary operations in Scala. So these are the base topics that we're going to cover today. So moving on to basic syntax. So Scala program are defined as collection of objects that communicate via invoking each other methods. The same thing as you know in any object-oriented programming, specifically Java, the same definition. Collection of objects that communicate via through the methods. So a class can be defined as template or blueprint that describe the behavior and state that are related to the class. So basically it's the blueprint. So whatever code you are going to write, it must be encapsulated in a class. In Java, we had this class keyword. Over here, we also have the same class keyword, but you also have something called object. It is similar to class, but it has that singleton behavior. So we were discussing what is singleton design pattern. So object has states and behaviors, and object is an instance of a class. So we'll see how to declare a class, how to declare an object, and what's the difference between class and object when it comes to programming. You have methods. A method is basically a behavior. So you have some property declared, so some class variables. Now you want to do some operation using those variables. So how to do that? You will define a method and do your operations. A method is basically a behavior. A class can contain many methods. It is in methods where the logics are written, data is manipulated, and all other actions are executed. You also have fields. Each object has its unique set of instance variables. So what are instance variables? Inside a class and outside your object, whatever variable you declare, those are your instance variables basically. Or you can also say class variables. An object state is created by the value assigned to these fields. Basic syntax, closure. So what is closure? A closure is a function. So first we'll just go through the definition and then we'll come to the programming part and cover each of this class, object, methods, how to declare, syntax of all this stuff. Okay, I have questions. Okay, great. Okay, yeah. So closure. A closure is a function. So if you're from a programming background, basically Java, so you know how to define your function. So you have a function which takes arguments or which also cannot take an argument. So it can be an empty braces declaration where it doesn't take any argument. It has a return type, and then you have your operations inside. So that's the basic of your function declaration. So what happens in when it comes to closure? So a closure is a function whose return value depends on the value of one or more variables declared outside the function. So suppose you have defined a function where what you are doing just a multiplication, but one of the multiplier you can say which is outside the function declaration. So you may say one class variable or instance variable. In that case, that function will be called as closure. So we'll see how to define a closure, when which case it is helpful. You also have traits. So trait is basically similar to interface in Java. The same thing. A trait encapsulates methods and fields definition, which can then be reused by mixing them into classes. Traits are used to define object types by specifying the signature and supported method. So basically, you just give a basic design, and then extending those traits, you are going to design your class and define your functions. So basically, for declaration purpose, you will use traits, and we also see how this thing works. So if you are from Java background, basically you have used interface and then abstract class and class. So basically, just consider that traits are similar to interface of Java. Data type. So we have already seen that the declaration and how what are the data types. So we have seen int, double, char, string, all those stuff. So pretty much the same thing. Scala has all the same data type as Java with the same memory footprint and precision. Following is the table giving details. So these are the data types and its description: byte having 8-bit signature, short 16-bit signed value, int has 32-bit and its range. Similarly, you can just go through this chart and the similar thing. So maybe all of you know about this description stuff. So just the integer, long, float, what we mentioned yesterday, that all the data type starts with capitals. So unlike your primitive type, which starts with small, there is no such thing here. So all are and all starts with caps. So basically, you can say wrapper classes in Java. Similarly, same thing. So all the data types are like the wrappers. You have string, you have boolean, you have unit. So this is one of the difference. In Java, you had void. So when you say void return type, that means it returns nothing. The similarly, that thing you have unit over here corresponds to no value. But there is one difference. When we will see through programming, we'll see how unit is different than void. You have null. You have something called nothing, which is something new here. A subtype of every other type includes no values. So in Java, we knew that if there is no value, you represent it with null. But in Scala, you also have something called nothing along with your null. Uh, then you have any, which the super type of any type. So it is similar to Java's object type, which is like the super type. It's uh, the super class of all other classes. Similarly, if you have some generic declaration where you can expect it can be anything, whether string, int, and then you're not sure about it, then by default that variable will be declared as any. The type will be any. We'll see how to declare any variable. Then you have any reference. So any reference is under any. So the super type of any reference type. And then you have any val as well, which is not written here. So any val and any ref. So we'll see one chart where you can see the whole structure from any to any ref, and then any val, and then all this string, boolean, list. We'll go through that part as well. So just let's start our. So I'm sure. So all these small examples, we'll do it in shell only. Then we'll move into IntelliJ later. So data type and lazy. We'll just do it over here. Okay. So okay, let me show you. So all this val and where we have already covered. So I'm not just going to do that. So I was just doing similar to what any declaration. So what happens? It is a heterogeneous list. Suppose you have a list where you have first element as string and the second one as int. So what will be the type of list? List of what? So if I do list of two string, it will be list of string. If I do a list of two integer, then the variable type will be list of integer. But check this here, the type is any, because it also has string, it also has one integer value. Suppose I want to do 3.14. So this is a double. So again, this list is of any type. Okay, this is the use of any. So when you have all mixture of elements over here, then the type is any. I can simply do a val g of any type and say 2. So it also supports. So basically 2 is an integer type. So when you're not sure about what data, in some use cases, what kind of data you're going to get from some sources, then it's better to declare it as any, or rather you can also just don't mention any type, and whatever value comes over here it will take. So type inference, so that is also something. So val h equals to whatever value it will come. So by default h will be of any type. Depending on the input, h will take its data type, whether it will be string or whether it will be integer or double or character. So pretty much the same thing what we discussed yesterday. Okay, so data types. Okay, lazy value. So for this I have very good example. So which is in IntelliJ. So this one will be helpful if we open our IntelliJ Scala. Okay, so I'll just show you how to open a new project. So I will just request everyone to open your IntelliJ. Once you are done, just give me a confirmation. Okay, for Hari it's done. Okay. Yes, Chang, you want to say something? Okay, done. Yeah. Okay, no problem. So Gopi, if you're not able to install IntelliJ, just do one. I will. You have alternative. You can just copy paste the program and carry on. The same thing can be executed over here also. So I will just show you. So let me show it from the IntelliJ part. Then we'll go to that command part as well. Okay. So you go to File. You go to New. Then create project. Select Scala. So you have this Scala option, and this is coming because you have installed that Scala plugin yesterday. If you don't have that plugin installed in your IntelliJ, then you'll not get this option. So from this new project, select Scala from this left pane. Then by default, this second pane, the Scala should be selected. Click on Next. In this untitled, you just give a project name. So here I will just give practice Scala practice. Okay. And this is the location where your project folder will be created. It's showing which version of Java you are using. So yesterday we mapped the Java SDK as well as the Scala SDK. So based on that, the same version it is showing. So for me, the Java SDK version is 1.8 and the Scala SDK is 2.10.5. So I'll just click on finish. Okay, so I think I already have created this. I will just change the name in my case. So for you, you can go ahead with the same name, Scala Practice, or whatever name. So mostly one convention, I'm sure you know about this. So try to give your project name which should start just like the class declaration. Make it like a camel casing. So if you have two words, first of all, this first letter should be in caps, and if you have two words, don't give a gap. You can give underscore, that is also allowed, or else you can just do a camel casing. So after Scala, the p practice, the cap p should be in caps. So I will practice one, finish. Okay, now it will ask you, because I already have two windows open for my Scala project, so it will ask me whether I want to open a new project in the current window or a new window. So I will go for new window. Okay, so I have it. Now just expand this, click over here, then you have SRC, and just right click over here, click new, and you have this option called Scala class. Okay, so click on this. Now what happens when you have something called Scala class, but you also have something called Scala object. So object is also a class declaration, but with the use of keyword object. I will choose object and will show you why it is so. So I'll just give it a name, demo 1. So my object name is demo 1. Click OK. Similarly to Java, where you have a main method so that you can call your, without main method your program will not run. The similarly over here I also have main method declaration. So I will just do def space man and hit enter and check, it gives me the whole stuff. I don't have to type anything else. I'll just show it again. Def then space then main and I just hit enter. Okay, now I want to do a simple println. Okay, so in Java you have system.out.println, right? But here you just type println, and inside that first demo. Okay, now what happens, right click and you have the run command over here. But what happens if I do it as a class? I'm not getting it, right? So basically if you want to run your object, you have to you run your class where you should declare your main method. You should do it using object, not class. So if you have anything other than class, then you can go for it. So if you have two classes, then what you can, one you can declare as class, then create an object inside the next object, and then from the main method which has been declared under the object, you can call it from there. Okay, it's in lowercase, so O is in lowercase. Okay, so we'll just run it. So Scala compilation takes more time than Java. The reason being, it does a lot of checking on top of Java. So once it creates that part, then only it will execute. So basically, there is one documentation which was done by Martin Odersky itself, which is self-explanatory why Scala takes more time than any other. So compilation time is more. So when we'll cover most of the part in Scala, then I will go for that part where I will show you all those points why. Then you will understand. So if I go for now, if there are many other things which we need to cover, then we'll be able to recall everything and understand why Scala takes more time to compile the code in as compared to Java. So you can see I have printed my stuff over here. I can also do a variable declaration val I equals to 1. One more thing, in this Java you have to end your statement using a semicolon, right? Here semicolon is optional. If you don't give a semicolon, still it works, because a new line means the start of a new statement, unlike in Java where you have to give semicolon. I can give, there will not be an issue, but it is not needed. Similarly, the same thing you can also give it here like I of int type, but it is not needed. I can skip it. So that is why we were discussing why Scala is concise as compared to Java. So these are the things that we can ignore while writing my program. So it helps a lot. So I equals to 1. I'll just, as per Java, what you do if you want to print some element, I will just give I'll just give a space, first demo, concatenate the variable along with my first demo string, and then first demo one, the same thing over there. There are other ways where you can just concatenate your variable inside your println statement or inside a string statement, string declaration. So how it can be done? The same thing without the plus sign, which we normally do for Java and in any other programming language. So I have to just write an S before starting the first double quotes S, and then I have to so when we try to concatenate with existing string, after the end double quotes we have to give plus sign. But when you use S over here, you can declare it anywhere in the middle with a dollar and then the variable. Now in the middle or at the end with the space. So I'm doing it inside the double quotes. Just check it. This is the difference. So basically what happens, I'll just show you how it helps. I will do one, sorry, I'll do I want to do a multiplication, I into 2, but it is not supporting. Check, this I is taking as variable, but this operation is not coming, right? It's coming as a string. So in that case, if it is more than one variable, just you have to do a curly braces and end it with that curly brace, then it will happen. So S, this is like a formatting statement. S just before starting of the double quotes, your string. Then in the middle, if you want to declare, I can also skip it. I just want to do this, but I showed you. So what are the ways you can do? If it is just one variable that you want to concatenate in the middle of your string, then just use dollar and then the variable name. And if you have more than one variable call or some operations like multiplication by 2, then you have to enclose it with the curly braces. So I'll just run it. Just check. First one demo 1 into 2 is 2. Okay. So what in Java, if I have to do it, what I have to do, I have to give it end my double quotes here, give it a plus. The same things is also supported here. It's not like that, but it takes a lot of effort, right? Again a plus sign. Okay. Same thing. This is like a Java type of concatenating your variable, outside variable. So this is the same as Java, but this is if you have multiple concatenation in the mid of your string variable or string declaration, then in that case this is like, this takes more effort. That's why it's better you just go for that concatenation of that S over here and just use the dollar symbol and then do it. So this is a new way of doing, which helps a lot of effort when you have long string and you want to append many things and stuff. Okay, so this is so basically this is a basic class declaration or an object. So basically object is what a singleton. So there, you know, the singleton property, only one instance is possible in single JVM of that class, you can say. So object is just the name, so it is also a class with a singleton property. but the keyword in Scala is object. Okay, so this is one way of declaring your main method, right? So this is again a conventional way what we had in C or C++ or Java, but I can show you something which is like a magical thing which Scala provides. So what if I don't want to declare this main method? It also takes two lines, right? I want to just reduce these two lines, and I want this two lines to be executed without doing a main. So what I have to do, I am sure you people are aware of inheritance. So inheritance means you have one class or some interface in terms of Java, and you're just extending that property and using it for your subclass. So demo one is my subclass, and I have already got one Scala library where I have one trait, basically trait called app. I will just show you. So extends the same keyword as in Java, and I do app. So app is a trait. You can see when I'm writing app, it's showing as T. So this is something which helps in IntelliJ. So if your class type is of trait type, then it is showing as capital T with a green color. If your class is of class type, then it shows in blue color with C in front of that class name, or or in case of trait, in front of the trait name. Or if it is an object, just see this here, it is showing in yellow color with one O symbol. So this helps you to clearly visually understand which are my objects, which are my classes, which are my traits. So what I will do, if I want to see what is this app, how it is defined over there, I'll just press my control button in my keyboard, take my mouse and cursor over here, and just click over it. It will open my app.scala. So this is a trait app. So what happens is in trait, if you see, you already have one main method declared. So when I have one object which extends an app, whatever code I'm going to write in between this enclosure of my object, this code will be automatically copied inside the main method of this, and I don't have to explicitly declare a main method. Without declaring a main, I can execute my program. So the same thing what I'm going to do using app trait. So I got the run command. When I'm doing a right click, I also get this run uh, function over here in IntelliJ. But if I don't do app, I will not get it. Check. This is in console. This is something different, but not to run the program. It is not be able to run it. So this is a concise way of declaring your statement and executing your statement without writing your def main method. Okay, so pretty much the basic stuff. So data, I will come to the lazy part later. Variable declaration, control structure, function. Okay, so you must be wondering, I just written the wrote that main method, right? So how I did, I'll just go back. I'll show you how to define a main any function. So just to start with the main, def main, hit enter. So what is def? So def is a keyword, just like val. Just before your variable name, you have to say val or var. I cannot just do it in a Java way, where just a variable name along with the starting with the uh, data type and then the variable name. It works in Java, right? But here you have to give val or var. Similarly, for your method declaration, you have to give a def keyword, then this is your method name. Inside this parenthesis, whatever this is your argument type. So args, similarly to Java main method args, the which is an array of string. So unlike in Java, how you write your string like this as your string array, okay, it will also support here, because as we discussed, if I declare a Java statement something like this, it will also support, because Scala also can use Java code or Java's type of declaration, but we are doing Scala, so we'll see how it is done in Scala way, not in Java way. So args, array of string, as my argument, so it only takes one argument. So basically, we used to say public void main void. Why void? Because it doesn't return anything, main method. That's why my return type is unit. Okay, and then after the equals to, whatever your thing you're going to write, that will be my body of function. So this is a predefined main function, right? So if we want to write something of our own, so I'll just again go back to extends app, and I'll just do this println inside some method. So I have val I, then I have val str equals to two. Okay, so I have one integer variable, and the second one is my string variable. Now I want to define a function, so I have def my. So same thing, convention. The function name starts with a small letter, the same convention that you follow in any other programming language. And the second word, again camel kissing, func, I'll just give my fun. I want to pass a variable. Suppose I want to pass a string variable, so str, the variable name first, a colon, then here I cannot skip the data type. Here I have to give the data type, so I will say string. So this is my variable name and variable type. Then I will give a return type. My return type I want as a string. Okay, so this is the argument type and the variable name and variable type. After closing the bracket, I'll just give another colon, and whatever I'm going to write here, it should be the return type of my method. Then I will give an equal to sign, right, and give it something like this. So before I write something inside, I mentioned that Scala is a function language, right? So everything is like a function type, right? So that's why the way you define your function with an equal to sign, the same way you declare your variable. So I can say this is also a function. I can say that this is also a function. I'll show you how using val keyword I can declare a function and then use it. So we'll see those complex types later, but let's just go by the simple variable and the conventional way of declaring variable and functions. So def myfun str string, this is my return type. Now what happens, I have to return a string, right? So first I want to do an operation. So what I will do, I will just declare another variable inside tmp, and I want to do something like str into I. Okay, so I think you know that str is what, my string variable, and I is my integer variable. So this temp I want to return. Okay, if I do this, or suppose I just do a concatenation plus, let's make it simple. In Java or any other language, we do a return by using a return statement, right? So in Java, you will write something called return and then tmp. It is also there in Scala, but you don't have to write it. What the last variable, whatever you declare or whatever you put in over here just before the enclosure of the function, this will automatically become your return type. What if I write I, check, it is giving error. Expression of type int doesn't conform to expected type string, because it is expecting a string as return type, but my last variable type is of integer type. So I will just do a tmp. So this is my declaration, it is done. Okay, so I haven't, okay, so I have used str over here. So this is basically this str. Okay, so give it a name called str1. Okay, and I'll just compare an str1. So these two are my class variables, and this is my local variable, you can say. Same thing as Java, which is declared inside your function. So I'll just call this function. So declaration is done. I'll just pass a string. Okay, let's do it like this. It will look better. Let I be first, then do this, and I will say th3. And this one I'm doing a println. So my function is going to return a string that I'm going to print, and 3 is the argument that I'm passing. Okay, I'm going to run it. Check. You have 1, you have 2, and you have 3. So this is how you declare your function, your argument variable and type, your method return variable type, this equal to sign, then your enclosure, start, then your declaration and operation and return. I can also do something like this without using, so what this temp variable, it is taking some memory space, right? And this is a string type, so this will definitely create a memory space while we'll call this. So to save that, I can just skip this part, no variable declaration, just the statement that you want to execute, the concatenation, it will also be done. So what is doing, basically this statement itself is doing a string operation and returning a string, so it matches with the data type. So this also works. So check how many lines we have reduced as compared to any other programming language. This is one of the basic stuff that you can do. So the class object declaration using main method, without using main you can do with extends app, your local variable declaration, then declaring your method, calling it, how to return without return keyword, and then because you have only one statement, again you have only one line of statement, you can also remove this and make it just like a variable declaration. Check, in one line I'm just doing it because I have only one line of statement. It also works. Okay. Okay, so in Scala you can use semicolon, which you normally use in Java, only in this case where you have two statements in single line. I said this two line is separated by a new line, so that's why I don't have to give a semicolon. So suppose I have another statement, but I want to write in a single line. So in that case, you just give semicolon, or suppose, yeah, fine, and just declare another string. Now that will be my last statement, which will be my return type, right? FOUR4. So check. So anyway, the 3 argument what I'm passing, it's not going to be used. It is showing some error over here. Okay. What happens because I have not enclosed it, because I have more than one, right? So this one is ignored. In this case, if I have more than one, I have to enclose it, and uh, it should be separated by semicolon. Now check. Now it works. Now this one also get executed, but my last return type of string type, which is a simple 4 string, and I'm printing a 4. So you saw the difference, right? So what happens when you do it in 2 lines? What happens if you do it in 1 line? What happens if you bring it in one line separated by a semicolon, but if you don't give the curly braces, it doesn't go for the second one statement. It executes this and stops. So if you don't give this, the control comes here and ends here. It doesn't go for this. So for if you have more than two statements and you want to write it in a single line, so you have to give the curly braces, but those 2 statements should be separated by semicolon. Okay, so pretty much the basics of declaration of class and variables and functions, the arguments, the semicolon, and the base stuff. So any question till now, if you have, just ask me, no problem. Or if you have understood, just reply. Okay, Cheng is okay. So Cheng, okay, Hari says all good. What about Gopi? Gopi is good. So you can do this, whatever I just executed, it's for Gopi. Okay, I'm just removing this. So you can just, so this object declaration is not possible, but one by one you can just copy it and do it in a Scala shell and declare all the statements and check. So just copy it and come here, hit enter, so something like this. One by one you can just do it and check it. The function declaration. Okay, I want to show you one more thing over here. Just like in variable declaration, you are not specifying the variable type. Similarly, you can also skip this string as the return type. You don't want to mention anything. So same as variable declaration, whatever you are going to return, it will automatically take that as return type. So in this case, it is taking obviously a string type. But what if I want to give it a 1 also? What is doing? It is returning 1. So check what happens. I have not same way as variable declaration. My method, my function declaration, the same thing. If I'm not specifying the type, whatever is going to be returned, whether it's a string or integer or double or character, it will automatically typecast it to that the return type, and that will be printed. So if you're not sure about your data type, some variable is there which can take any values like a string, then better to leave it as that blank, so that whatever is going to return, you can just call it and print it. So it depends on the use case. In some of the programming need, you want to keep it as blank. In some places you want to make sure that I want this data type as my return type. In that case, you must declare it. So this is one way. You can also skip this part, colon, and then the string part, and also do your function. So if I have declared string check, this is giving an error, so I have to remove that part. Okay, fine. Okay, pretty much. So data types, lazy. I'm going to show you right now what is lazy declaration, variable in Scala. Control structure, we'll do it later. Okay. Object, class, methods, fields, we have done. Closure, traits. Okay. So trait, I don't need to show you using some. So basically, same as if you go here, you can check how the trait is declared using a trait keyword, then the name of your sorry, name of your trait or the class name of that trait, you can say. Okay. This is a very good documentation done by Scala. So you just open it and check about whatever it is written, how it is working. Similar to Java documentation. Okay, so using a trait keyword, you can just put trait mine trait. And similarly, this whatever you want to just declare, not define, similar to interface, just declare. You can do it inside that. So same as trait, same as interface. Okay, closure. Okay, so what is a closure? So closure is a function. So check this declaration of our method. This, I can say this is a closure. Why? Because a closure is a function which takes one variable which is declared outside this function. So if I just remove this str, it is not a closure basically. And if I use it, so this str and this I both are used declared outside this function declaration, then this is a closure. That's the basic difference actually. So if I just use str1, then it is not a closure. So that's the basic definition of a closure. A function declaration and its operation inside, which uses a variable which has already been declared outside. So you can say a class variable. So that is called a closure function. Andrew, okay, we have someone new over here. Andrew was not there yesterday. Dipti also came. So Dipti, are you able to follow? You came a bit late, I think. Great, great. So, Andrew, I think you were not there yesterday. So, I'm just going to unmute you for 1 minute, so you can just give a brief introduction of yourself. So, yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Hi Sujit, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, sorry Sujit, yesterday I couldn't join because of personal reason. Just today I realized we had a continuation today, so I thought I would join today.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I'm from a C++ .NET background. I used to work in Microsoft stuff. Recently, a couple of years back, I have been on the big data space, but
Mm-hmm.
but for the last 1 year, I'm again back into Microsoft, leveraging Azure cloud products.
Mm-hmm.
But I really want to keep in touch with, the Spark and Scala and other stuff. So That's the reason I wanted to, join this session. And probably in future, I may probably want to reach out to you to find out if I can, also have some other fundamental classes related to Java. I've done decent Java coding, but probably to build up my fundamentals and then probably move into the space that will help me. And I've been in this field for probably 15, 16 years or something.
Okay, great, great. So, which big data framework you used before?
Which framework? I didn't get you properly, Subjit.
Whether it's Hadoop or Hive or Pig, which one?
Oh, okay. So basically, I was from, we were building a framework from these frameworks. So we
Hmm.
used to leverage, Hive, and my team we used to create, write some MapReduce programs, and not
But
much
that was
in.
mostly written in Java because that's MapReduce. So,
Yes,
uh,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
So you were part of those program building, or which part you mostly
I
do?
I was kind of, architecting the solution. I went through the entire, Hadoop. Hadoop has got it leverages a lot of Apache projects, right? So
Yes.
my role was to put a framework together in place so that we can have a multi-tenant environment serving different application groups, so that they need not have to worry about hosting and deploying their products. At the same time, we also played a role of giving a generic solution to ingest the data that's coming in. So yeah, so that's what my role was.
Okay, great, great. So, yeah, regarding that thing which you said, some other things like Java or stuff, if you want to learn, you can just contact the Creative people regarding that. They have their classes. Because I
Right.
normally don't take Java or even Hadoop and stuff. I'm
Sure,
specific to Spark and Scala. I used
sure.
to on 1.5 years back, but
Okay,
I'm not specific to this Spark and Scala training.
sure.
So yeah, you can
Um,
definitely reach out to Creative. They have the resources. They will help you. They will guide you with those stuff.
sure,
But
Shubhjit.
I can assure you, because you are from a programming background, and I do
Yeah,
take training other than web-based training. I also do corporate training. I came across many people like they haven't gone through any programming thing in their whole lifetime, but they understood the Spark and it, because Scala is very easy to understand. It's pretty concise. So if you can compare whatever I was explaining, so how you can just declare a variable
Yeah, yes,
stuff.
Sujit. My background, just probably if I can take probably a few seconds. Since I come from C++ and from .NET background, I don't know, you may be aware that the concept of the value without defining a variable, what variable type, it all comes from JavaScript. You probably know JavaScript is also a dynamic language. And also
Yes.
in the .NET world, we have something called task parallel library. Basically, we are trying to write a lot of functional code, moving away from writing, a
Mhm.
sequence of code. And I think
Exactly.
Scala fits into that space, if I'm right. So whatever you're
Right.
teaching, I can understand because I do have that background. But only thing is, I'm not familiar with the tools and probably the syntax and other stuff. But probably taking a class with you or someone you can refer, it will really help me out.
Definitely, we'll see that. But right now, whatever I'm explaining, so basically the difference is to make is basically this is for the Java people to understand. So the difference is basically with the Java. So how you declaring variable. When I say without specifically declaring a type of variable, you cannot do it in Java. So that's why. So I know, yeah, I have used JavaScript as well. That is similar to C JavaScript declaration. But that's a scripting language. So it's
Yeah.
not a full-fledged application development stuff. So in that case, I cannot compare it with JavaScript. But yes, you can say this. The syntax are pretty much similar to those part which you just mentioned. So yeah, thanks for your intro, Andrew. Good to hear.
Thank you, Sujit.
Yeah, so yeah, we'll just proceed. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so what's next? Hmm, closure, create. Okay, so we were talking about lazy. Okay, I already have one program over here. It's the best to show you the difference between lazy and non-lazy. So whatever variable declaration we have done, those were non-lazy, or you can say normal declarations, right? So we'll see how it is different. So the same way we have one object a declaration. I gave it a name, so I can say class name lazy, extends app to get the main method. I have one declaration of variable which I say val non-lazy. This is my type. Sorry, this is my name of the variable type. I haven't mentioned as usual for type inference. So I want to declare. I want to see that how the lazy and non-lazy works. So what I did is before assigning a value, I just did a println, gave a semicolon, and then assigned 10 value. So basically non-lazy, if I just put press control and take my cursor here, you can see val non-lazy val is of int type because it has the value 10, right? But before assigning the 10, it will just print this line. So just to check how it is, so we'll see why I used this println before assigning 10 to non-lazy val. So this is my declaration, and then I am doing a println over here, non-lazy println string, and then printing the non-lazy val. Okay. Then I have given some star to just make a partition between this println and the next three lines of println. So this is just to segregate. It will be easy to understand visually. So here I have declared a lazy val. So this is the name, this is a val. So just before this val declaration, you have to just use this keyword lazy. And similarly, same thing I have done println. Here I have printed lazy declaration and then assigned another integer 11. So lazy val is again, if I press control and take my cursor, it is also an integer which is storing 11 as its value. Again printing a lazy println and then printing my lazy val. See what happens if I run this program. Okay. So what happens here? My declaration. So printing non-lazy declaration first, then this second line non-lazy println and the println. So pretty much what we expected, what how it should happen, right? But check here. So this is the star println. So everything. So this is the lazy non-lazy part. The lazy println comes here. So what happens? I have declared a lazy val assigning 11 as its value. Check, this line is not printed first. The first print is this, the second line lazy println. Then comes this lazy declaration println and then the 11. Why? So basically, if we check this property of scalar, this is very one of the important parts. So first advantage of Scala is immutability. So we saw it last day. So just I will just do a small demo so that Andrew can just check it. So okay, so if I have a val b equals to 2, so b automatically will be typecasted to integer because 2 I'm passing as value integer. So it's a val. So if I want to reassign another value to b, it will give me error. Reassignment to val is not, because it is immutable. You cannot change the state, change the value. The similar way, if I use a var and then do a c equals to 5, and then I want to reassign next value 7, it is done. So C has been reassigned. So this val declaration is by default that we are going to use here. So val is immutable. So this is one of the first feature that Scala has been preferred when it comes to big data because of its immutability, because the data which you are going to process, whatever big data you are going to process, if it has a property of immutability, that is the most advantage thing, because you want to make sure my data doesn't get changed over time or over while I am processing my data. So we'll see how things work. So how data is not allowed to be changed, rather you want to transform and save it into another variable. So this is something called immutability. The second one being this lazy. So what is lazy? What is happening here? Let me show you first again. uh, this is as per what we expected. This line get printed first, then this line, and then non-lazy val contains a 10, so it prints a 10. This is the sequence of println. But here the sequence breaks. The sequence doesn't starts with this line. Why? It's a lazy. So what is lazy? So you can say lazy means who is a lazy person? The lazy person is someone who just sits. He has all the strength and everything, but he is always in a sleeping mode. He's a lazy guy. He just sits around a corner. He doesn't do a work. But when something happens, some action happens, then he becomes active, right? So that is a lazy thing. So in the big data, this is one of your advantage. So you want a lazy variable. Okay, Andrew says thanks for the immutability explanation. Welcome, Andrew. So this lazy, what happens? This line gets executed first. So this is just remain as a declaration, but it is not evaluated. Why this in case of non-lazy val, this println came into picture? Because when you are doing a normal variable declaration, this whole thing inside this braces, inside this curly braces, get evaluated when you are running the program, right? But when you do a lazy, this just remain, this line remain as a declared part, but Scala is not going to Scala is not going to evaluate whatever is there inside. It will only get evaluated when it is needed. Now I am doing an action, I want to print it. Then only it calls this and say whatever is there, evaluate. So that's why this println helps us to understand the sequence of evaluation happens. So in normal variable declaration, unlike similar to Java and other, uh, the declaration as well as the evaluation happens at the same time. But here the declaration happens, but evaluation of this line happens whenever it is called. So when any action is performed, that you want to do a multiplication or just to print it, and you want to do some thing which is an action, you can say. Not even multiplication. If I do multiplication also, that is also will be a lazy thing. So whenever you want something to call, so calling or accumulating or printing basically, so some action happens, only then it gets evaluated. So that's why lazy println. And here when it gets a call that you have to print lazy val, then the call goes here, the lazy val. Now you have to do the evaluation, then the println, this happens, and this 11 comes into lazy val. So first this get printed because evaluation is done, lazy val gets 11 as its value, and then lazy val prints the 11. So I am sure you are able to follow the sequence, how the lazy thing works. Okay, yes, very good. So I was coming to that. Why lazy command or lazy thing is, so basically in Spark by default, all the major operations you can say are lazy. Okay, so let me give one simple use case. You have two tables which are like a hive table, suppose a big data. So you have 1 terabyte of data, two tables you have. Now you want to declare something on variable where you want to store the table data over here, right? What will happen if you do a normal variable declaration? It will once you declare it, it will just come to this line and it will just evaluate what is there over there. So so that thing will be executed on declaration. Whether you use it or not, it will be evaluated, and that will be heavy stuff, right? Because that's a huge data. So what if I have some conditional statement that only if this is done, then use that, right? So there are chances then in some cases, if my program goes to the else part, then I'm not going to call this, right? In that case, that helps your program to be very lightweight, right? So whenever it is needed, only then the action is performed and it gets evaluated. So what happens if I don't do a lazy? So if I have two tables, I am declaring one val table one, I am trying to call the all the data from the table and store it in this variable, pointing it to this variable. So in that case, the, the non-lazy case, that both the data, 1 terabyte of data, it will get loaded, and it will be heavy stuff. Whether you use it later or not, it will doesn't matter, it will be heavy stuff, right? But by default in Spark, most of the transform, so basically all the transformation we'll see in Spark, you have something, two things basically, it's transformation and actions. So you basically, you can say this println is your action and this will be your transformation. Okay, so all the transformation by default is lazy, so you don't have to use the lazy keyword. This is just in a Scala programming background to show you how the lazy thing is different than the non-lazy thing. So so this is how in Spark it will be done. So suppose this is one terabyte of data getting stored in my lazy well. So if I don't use this, then it will not get evaluated. So that huge amount of data will not be loaded into memory. So this is basically the use case how in big data lazy evaluation is very much helpful, and it helps you a lot to save your memory, to save your resources, saving your time and everything. So Gopi, is this example clear enough to understand? Exactly. Only when it is called, only when it is used. So Gopi is asking, so lazy is executed only when it is called. So yes, it is only evaluation during its use, during its call, actual call. So everyone else, can you just give me a reply, say, whether you understood this difference between lazy and non-lazy? Okay, Deepthi says yes, Hari says yes. What about Chang? Chang? Okay, Andrew says yes. Andrew says understood, Shubhajit. Okay, with caps. Okay, Cheng says okay. Fine, great. I think Cheng knows Scala pretty well. He says every time okay, okay. Okay, good. Uh, so pretty much the lazy stuff. So data type, lazy, class, methods, fields, closure, trait, data types we have covered. So basically you all of you know data types and stuff similar to your programming language like Java, C++, .NET. So we'll see the any and the nothing and the null part later on when we go for the other examples. Okay, so pretty much we have covered all this part yesterday only, but we have some new newcomers, so basically Andrew, so no problem repeating it, so just simple stuff over here. Okay, I'll just show you in a Scala shell. So this is my Scala shell, so I'll just type Scala day 2. This is a string, So when I hit enter, what happens? By default, my Scala shell declares a variable with a name called res1. So because I have already used res0 before. Also in some other, I have another console, so there I've used. So basically it starts with res0. When for the first time you launch your Scala shell, then the second variable, if you just don't give any name to your variable, it automatically gives increment this name res1, res2, res3, and just gives a name variable. So the name of this variable is res1. The type is string, so by default the type inference and the value over it. Similarly, you can just do uh, you can do a double declaration like this, or an integer declaration, sorry, integer declaration like this. So we have already covered this part yesterday. Yeah, so string concatenation and similar stuff over here. Yeah. 2 plus, I would say, 2 string concatenation, or string with double, same thing, it's just concatenate. So output of string and double concatenation, or output of string or an integer, suppose 2 only, will result into a string. But if I do 2 plus 8, then it will be an integer output. What if I do 2 plus 3.9? Check, the output is double type. So this is like the preference. If I have int string with any other variable, string will take the preference, and it will do a concatenation based on that variable which is, or that type which is taking the preference. So here the concatenation happens as per string concatenation. So here it happens as per the integer addition. So here this plus sign acts as concatenation, here this plus sign acts as addition, and here the same addition works, but the preference, the result preference is given to the double. So when you are doing addition with integer and double, the result will be double. So same thing with other variables. Okay, pretty much variable. Okay. So it's saying variables are nothing but reserved memory locations to store values. If you don't declare it, so in IntelliJ, or in when you're doing programming or building your application, you have to declare the variable. So this is just to show. This res1 and res2 is just for the Scala shell. But when you're going for your application development, you have to declare the variable name. So Scala has different syntax for declaring variables. Scala variables comes in two shapes: values and variables. So we have already discussed this part: val with for value and variable for var. The var is immutable, read only, declare using keyword var. This means that it is a variable that cannot be changed, and this is called immutable variable. So I just explained you why immutable is needed in big data. I told you that you don't want your state of your data to be changed. If you want some transformation, do a transformation and store it into a different variable, which will always be another immutable variable. But you don't want to change your source. So if I work with Hive, you cannot do an alter table, or you can just you cannot do an update of a row, right, using Hive commands. So similarly, so big data doesn't allow changing of or updating the existing data. You can just pick up a data and transform and store it somewhere else, but it doesn't allow you to change. So same thing at one, the Scala supports, that is the immutability. You don't want to change your any data. Okay, so immutable using val. Then you have variable var, read and write both. So val was only read, variable is read and write both. Okay, so similar to non-final variable in Java, declared using keyword var, it is a variable that can change the value, and this is called mutable variable. So similarly, what I showed you using integer, here they have showed it using string. Okay, okay. So variable, when you assign an initial value to a variable, the Scala compiler can figure out the type of the variable based on the value assigned to it. Yeah, so we already covered this part. This is called variable type inference. Type inference. Once a type is assigned to a variable, it remains same for the entire scope. So when I say var, my var equals to string, I cannot simply reassign another. So this is a var, so I can reassign something, right? But this is a string declaration, right? So once it's take a string, I cannot just reassign an integer over here. So here they tried to do a integer reassignment. So it says type mismatch because it's a var. So reassignment is possible, but it has to match with the declaration type of the variable. So once a type is assigned to a variable, it remains same for entire scope. The Scala is statically typed language. So that is why Scala is one of the property of Scala, statically typed language. So lazy val, I have already showed you what is a lazy stuff using that example. So one nice feature built into Scala are lazy val values. When a val is declared with the lazy modifier, the right hand side of the value will not be executed. So basically the definition or the declaration happens with the variable and the type, but whatever is there on the right side of the equals to sign, that doesn't get evaluated. So it said it will not be executed. So until the for the first time the value is accessed. So I can say the access keyword, or I can say call for an action. So that will be more precise word when it comes to big data or Spark. So basically action, whenever an action is performed on any lazy variable, then only. So lazy can also be used for function definition, we'll see later. Uh, Lazy values are very useful for delaying costly initialization instructions. So same thing. I just give you an example that if you have two tables, huge tables, data, and you want to do it using non-lazy, then it will be a heavy stuff. Okay, so some noise from outside, no problem. Okay, so lazy value don't give an error on initialization, whereas non-lazy value gives an error. Why? Why non-lazy gives an error? Suppose you want to load a file from a source and you are declaring it as a val, right? So on the declaration itself, it is going to check whether this file.txt. So just ignore the stuff, means what the syntax over here. So basically, this first line is trying to load a file from a source called file.txt and store it into a variable called file. So if it is a normal for variable declaration, a non-lazy variable, then it checks, right? It tries to execute this part and it checks whether this file.txt exists or not. That's why it's giving an error, Java IO file not found exception. But if you declare a lazy, then val and this and declare it, it will not give you such error over here. Similarly, what we checked in our example, because it doesn't check the right hand side of the equals to part. It will only be checked when I'll call for this file, whether I want to store the file or want to do perform some action on this file or read the text from the file and print it. Only then this part of the declaration will be evaluated. Okay, so we'll come to that control structure. So pretty much the same thing as any other language. You have if else statement, while statement, do while statement, for each, for. So this is something for each we'll see, which is you can say new in Scala as compared to Java. Okay. uh, you have if statements. So basically I'll just show you an example using if. Okay. So I already have few. Okay, so well, if suppose I already have some variables here, like res1, res2, res3, res4. Okay, so something. Okay, I will use res6, which is of integer 10, right? Res6 is greater than 10. If res6 is greater than 10, suppose I'll do a print, or suppose I'll just do res6 into 2. So whatever variable, if it is greater than 10, it will just multiply with 2. Else, same syntax. I'm just doing it in one line. Similarly, whatever I just showed you can do it in one line. And I'm also not giving any curly braces to define the scope, because I only have one statement. Okay, so else I will do res 6. If it is not greater than, then I will do something called divide by 0, suppose. Okay, it will definitely give arithmetic exception, because I'm trying something dividing by 0, right, as usual, which you get in Java. So what I can do is I can anything other than 0, or suppose I give 2. So multiplied by 2, if it is greater than 10, or if it is not, then it will just divide it by 2. Okay, so I get something as 5, right, because this statement is not executed. It comes to this part, so 10 divided by 2, and I have 5. Okay, why I did this arithmetic exception, because I'll come to that part. There is something called other than your people who are from Java background, your try catch, right, exception handling, but there are some other stuff that we can use it here to avoid getting this exception. So something is called pattern matching, and you also have something called partially applied function and partial function. So we'll see that part, where even if I declare something like this, I have option to check whether I will get some exception or not, and based on that I will can execute it, my program, where I want to divide it with 0, or if it is coming as 0 with as a variable value, I can simply pass it without getting any exception. Okay, I have some question here. Yeah, copy, definitely I can. So that is like I have to do try catch and stuff, and also I told you I have some other way of handling this exception also. So exception handling we'll cover in later modules, so we'll check that part. But today we have the uh, pattern matching stuff, so we can just cover that part, and then I will show you the same example where I can do something called divided by 0 and do a check over there. So we'll see that part. Okay. So this is the if else part. Uh, okay, so if I want more than one statement, suppose similarly to that part, I'll just enclose it with curly braces, given it because I'm doing it in one line, so that's why I have to give it a semicolon and do something like this. Suppose I just want to do 5 plus 3 and else two, 2 into 6 and enclose it. So check this, the last whatever I passed here, it got executed. So 6 into 2, 12 it came. So any one more than one statement, you have to define it within this scope using this curly braces and separated by a semicolon. Okay. Okay, so this is the same. So rest of the thing, if else, I don't want to spend time on that. Pretty much the same thing. You have do while, you have for each, you have for. So for each, we can definitely go for collection. So I'll collection is not something which we are going to cover today, but just for an example. So if you know array variable, so I'll just show you the for each part. Suppose you have array variable, array of array as a keyword I have given. So not keyword, this is the variable type, and I say 1 comma 4 comma 6. So I have array of integer. Okay, in the same example I just want to show you some other uh, declaration type. So if I have a homogeneous array where I have something like first is integer, sorry, second one is string, and third one is double. Check this. This declaration, it says array of int, right? Because all the collections inside this array, you can say these are of int type, right? But check this one. This is a homogeneous array, right? This is integer, this is string, this is double. That's why it takes as any. So we were describing any as similar to object in Java, right? So which is like the superclass, more generic, right? So because it has to accommodate all these uh, data types, so it took the super type, that is the any type. So this array is of array of any, which contains first as your integer, then string, then double. Okay. Suppose I want to print each element of this array. So suppose I want to print ARR1. So what I have to do is ARR1. So you have for loop, but here I can just simply do for each, as the name suggests. So for each element of ARR1, I'm going to do a print ln. Check, I'm not giving any parenthesis over it. I don't need to give it like this because I'm not doing any operation. It's a simple thing. What this line is saying is this is an array variable of array of any type. Take for each element of ARR1, you just print it, right? So if I just hit enter, it just prints 1, 2, and 3 as my 3 collections inside ARR1. Similarly, same thing we can do for ARR as well, 146. So for each, so you can say this is like a concise for loop. So just check in one line how much. So similarly to C++ or in Java, if you have to do it the same thing, you have to line at least 3 lines of codes, right? Or 2 lines of codes, right? So this in this Scala, you can just do it in one line. So for each is something which you can use to print or do any other action, right? I can also do the same thing. We'll anyway cover the collections part, then we'll check all this part. There is something called map. Okay. If you can see the difference, so for each, so again, I just wanted to cover it because we were going through some big data examples, right? So what happens, suppose you have a huge data. So this is just an array, right? So in terms of real cases, suppose you have some huge data which is stored in this ARR variable, and you want to do some operation, just want to print, or you want to do simple operation. You don't want anything in return, just whatever you have written inside the for each. So this is just a println statement. You can just write 5 lines, 6 lines, 10 lines, 100 lines of statements in the inside your for each. So whatever you're going to write, it is going to be executed, right? But the return of for each is like void, like unit. Okay, same thing, but same thing as void. But when it comes to map, whatever you're going to do here, it expects a return type. Because println returns nothing, so it is saying it is an array of unit type, because println is not returning anything, right? But for each is just printing and expecting nothing, because it by default it is not expecting any return. So when in some cases you, in some real cases, you want some simple operations to be done and you don't expect a return, then you can use the for each. But when you expect something in return and doing some operations on this variable which stores your data, then you should use map, because it gives you a return. In this case we have used println, that's why it's showing that array of unit. And just printing, check this, it's printing array of 3 null, or you can say void elements, right? Because the length of my array is 3, but each time I'm doing a println, that's why it is not showing anything over here, right? So in which case, so for println, basically for each is suitable, right? Because map, if it is expecting a return, then it's a heavy stuff, right? It has to calculate and then return it, and check it is storing it into a variable called res10, right? What if, in which case I want to do a map, I want to do some operations on ARR variables. I want val new ARR, so new array. So what I want is each of the element from array, I want to multiply it by 2, right? I have two ways of doing it. If I say underscore, that is each element of array, it will come here into 2, right? So if I just write it here like this and hit enter, check my new array is also array of integer, but it just multiplies the uh, ARR elements with 2. So 1 becomes 2, 4 becomes 8, and 6 becomes 12, right? The same thing here I was expecting. So this underscore is the uh, indication that whatever element is going to come, this is the place where it is going to be appended, and then each time one element comes from the array element, it is going to multiply by 2. So this thing I can also write it something like this. I can declare a variable something like this. So anyway, this is something we are going to cover later when we will do collections, then we'll do all this stuff. So just to give you an heads up on the for each and map, the same thing over here. Here I've just used a variable r. This is the type. So we'll see what is this sign means in Scala. So for now, just go by the syntax. So because here I only need it for one simple thing, so I did it for underscore. But if you need it for more than two places, this variable, whatever you are going to get it inside this map from the array, then you should go for this kind of declaration where R will be represented with each of the array elements. So each time, so first time one comes here, R, r into 2, 1 into 2, 2. Then the second elements comes to this r, which is 4, so 4 into 2, 8. And then the last 6 comes here, 6 into 2, 12. This is how map works. So basically, the difference between a map and a for each. So basically, it does iteration used by Scala using map and for each. The difference being for each returns expects nothing as written, but map always expects a return type. It depends on your use case where you want a map or we want for each. Suppose you want to do a println and you do a for each, it will be again an heavy application or heavy operations over there. So it depends on your use case. You want to do use your map and for each. So I have some question. Okay, map. So Gopi is asking what happens if I do a map made on ARR1. Okay, we'll do it. So basically ARR1 is mixture of what? Uh, Integer and then string and then double, right? So each time, so we'll do it something like this. Okay, so just make it, I don't want to change this ARR1, ARR1. Okay. So it's saying value star is not a member of any. Because ARR1 is of any type, you cannot perform a multiplication on any type, right? So here it is not permissible. I think that question you answered. Right. If you want to do it, then you have to convert it something like to string and to int, but you don't want to do it because you don't know which element is of which type. So basically, for a homogeneous, you can definitely print it, but because of this multiplication, it is not working here. You can, if you do a plus, still it will say type mismatch. Okay, so you cannot do such operations. You can simply do a println on AR1. So in that case, you have to handle each time you are getting an element, you have to check what kind of element, what kind of variable it is from a heterogeneous array, and check based on that using, suppose you use if else, if my r is of type string, then do this, or else if r is of int, then do this. So we'll see those part where you can check conditions and do operations when you're not sure about what variable you are getting. So just to show you for each, so ARR1 you can do a println. I don't need this variable because for each doesn't return. I don't want to store it, so it will print. Yeah, so Gopi asked, can we handle that? So this error, what? Yeah, so I told you using conditions you have to check. So basically, because it is of any type, so it doesn't know in which iteration which element will come, whether it will be int or string. So it doesn't know. So you cannot do an operation, string operation. So suppose you know Java, right? So if you want to do some string operation on object kind of object variables, you cannot do it, right? So you are either have to do a typecast or you have to check which kind of variable you have. So if you have integer, you can do a multiply or you can do a divide, and if you have string, you can do it like something to uppercase to make it uppercase. So again, so you have to check it inside if you have any variable of any type. So before performing any operations, arithmetic operations specifically. Yeah. Okay. So for each for do while we'll see the do while part later. So people don't use basically because you have this for if. So this basically for each and map are the most used thing in Scala. And when you go to Spark programming, you will see extensive use of for each and map over there. You also have some other operations, but I will not discuss it today because when we go to the collections in Scala, we will be using all these things. So if statement consists of, okay, I have some question. Can we use map to multiply not only constant but another array element sequentially? So you are saying, okay, so you are, can we use map to multiply not only a constant but another array element sequentially? Okay, what do you mean by array element sequentially? So when you say array element, okay, so here I'm doing array elements. So array elements, suppose ARR1, right? Check. So take this example. ARR is in my array. So each time this is coming, this is my array element, and it is happening sequentially, right? So 1 becomes 2, and 4 becomes 8, and 6 becomes 12. So it's happening sequentially only, right? Array elements. Is that does it answer your question, Chan? Or you wanted to ask a different question? If you can just give an example what exactly you are asking. So does this example have answer your question? Okay, so what is this? Okay, so yeah, Cheng will definitely see that. So I got your question. I don't want to jump into those array and operations. We'll see that how we can use multiplication of two array elements and stuff. So basically, it's called zip. So we'll see it when we go to the collections part. So definitely we'll cover all those parts, everything. So just wanted to give you an example of for each and map. So I have your question in mind. I will definitely. So basically, whatever question you are having regarding this, it is already it is going to be covered anyway. But I have your question in mind. I'll just cover it because I don't want to drag this today's class into this collection stuff. So it was just to give you an example of for each. Is that fine? Yeah, fine. Okay. Okay. So now it's 9:47 over here. Okay, so we can go for a break for 15 minutes. So we can be back in next 15 minutes, 10 o'clock. Is that fine with you all? 15 minutes break. Okay, I am getting access response. Okay, so Gopi will finish his dinner in 15 minutes. Oh my God. Okay, Cheng is saying yes. Gopi. Okay, no, I'm not going to have dinner now. Then I will feel sleepy. I will have it after the class. Okay, Hari is saying yes. Okay, Ditya is saying okay. Okay, yeah, so Gopi, fine, you can finish your dinner. So, okay, we'll be back in next 15 minutes. Fine? Okay, great. Okay, so we are back after the break. So just one confirmation, who all are back. So you can just raise your hand or ping. Okay, we are back. Okay, Gopi is back. So hopefully Gopi had a quick dinner in 15 minutes. Okay, Chang is back, Deepta is back, Hari is back, Gopi is back. Andrew. So I think Andrew is not back from the break. Okay, just we'll wait for 1 more minute and then we'll start. Yeah, so Deepti is saying, can I write multiple statements? Yeah, basically, yes, same thing. With a new line, you can divide your statements. Or if you want to write it in a single line, then you have to just give a semicolon. So I think I showed you that example. So let me write it. So I want a return statement, right? So I will just print R. I'll do print ln R and then multiply it by 2. Check what is it is showing. Let's do it like this. So when you use an ID, it will show you what is the error that you're getting here. What it is showing is, so when you have more than one, you have to give it a curly braces. So here it was showing that if you have more than one statement, you can give a semicolon, but in that case you have to enclose the number of statements using your curly braces. Only then it will work. Right. So here I just have to do a curly braces and print ln r. So first it printed the values of r, and then it multiplied with 2 and stored it into my variable new array with 2, 8 and 12. So this is how you are going to do multiple statements inside map. So here I'm just not showing 2 lines in one line, I'm showing, so you can just do it like this. So this is the way you can do. So without giving semicolon, the same thing, you can just give a new line and write your second statement, and with curly braces, enclosed with curly braces, you can do it. Okay, so when I say this R, basically it is just taking, it is not, it doesn't have a type. You can say it's a any type, but I'm not declaring anything like that. Based on this variable, it will take it. So if I just press Control and take my cursor to R, check, it is showing R as is of int type, right? But what if I just do something like this? So here it is giving error, right? Because now this ARR is of any type. Check, because I have introduced one string, so it is a heterogeneous array. In that case, this is not possible, so it's a compile time issue over here. But here my ARR is of array of any type, so R is of any type. So it depends on whatever array type you have defined inside. So if it is int, then R by default takes as int. If it is of any type, so it is int, it is of any type. So based on this, this variable type will be decided. Does that answer your question, Gopi? Okay, great. Okay, so we have if else is done. So we have while. So it's the same thing as Java. Great. Okay, so it's same thing as Java or any C or C++. The same way you can do it while check. So when you are doing a while check, first you will write while as the keyword, then you will define, you will just give the condition, and then inside your curly braces whatever operations you want to do. So I have a variable, suppose same ARR. Okay, so when I will say while, so I will just declare as integer variable when r equals to 11. So while r greater than 11, so I, after giving the till before this example, I was just declaring the whole stuff in single line. So if you want uh, a new line in your shell, you can just press enter, it will come to the new line. So this is the symbol which says it is not, your program is still, you're in declaration mode, so it just came to the new line. So when I will close this curly braces, it will end. The while loop will end here, right? So while you have r greater than 11, you just do a print 11 r. So okay, we'll just change. Okay, I just wait, while we'll take this example. Okay, so we understood the difference between val and var, right? So check this, when you're declaring while x, so x I have taken a var, right? So you can reassign into your var. So if you want to increment it, we took a val, right? So we'll just declare a var because you have to change the value and do an increment in this case. Val f equals to 10. Okay, so while f is greater than 9, println f equals to f plus 1, and then just it goes to infinite loop, right? Because the condition which I have given, it doesn't support, and it falls into infinite loop, right? Why? I'll just close it. Why was that? Because I gave a greater than symbol, right? So it will always come true and it will print this. So in that case, you can use a do while loop. Okay. Well, f equals to n while. Now I am going to use a do while loop. So here I am not going to give any condition. So this is right. Do f println f equals to f plus 1. I end my do loop, then my while statement f less than 10, 11. Oh, sorry, I did a well. So basically, this becomes a habit when you're doing a scalar. Okay. Do I'm just pressing up key to go back to my already declared statement. So this one, this one, this one. Okay, so it goes for only one loop because only. So what happens? First f comes here, prints f is now the new f becomes f plus 1, 11, and then it checks that f is whether f is less than 11 or not. So for the first time it prints and then it checks this. So in that case it actually goes for one round of this do loop and then it checks the condition. But the first example which we are showing, suppose the same thing I do using only while loop. While f less than 11. So suppose I declared f as 10, right? So I will do f equals to f plus 1. So here it is not printing it, right? Because while entering into the loop, it is checking whether f is less than 11 or not, right? And then it goes here. So this is the basic difference. So here in this case, this condition is checked at last, but here before entering the loop, before entering the body of your while loop, the condition has been checked. So basically, this is the basic. So the similar thing you do in C++ and Java. The difference between do and do while and while loop. Okay, so for loop. So for loop is same as Java, but in Scala, you are always asked to use for each and map, because for loop is it's a Java style of writing and iterating through your elements. So definitely will not use for loop when it comes to Scala. So a for loop is a repetition control structure that allows you to efficiently write a loop that needs to execute a specific number of times. You can use multiple ranges separated by semicolon within for loop, and in that case loop will iterate through all the possible computations of the given ranges. So this one example, so for x, uh, so this is similar to what is there in Java, which is called extended for loop, where you don't have to give the increment. So end I, then I tends should be greater than or equals to 10, and then I plus plus, and then do. So in Java you learned about this extended for loop or for, so that is the same thing over here. So no need of explaining this thing. I think you can just keep it same thing. So the same thing you can do it using for each. So just for example, but in Scala no one use for loop, so you have for each and map to iterate through your collections. So the same thing, if you want to do a give it a range, how you can do using for and for each. Suppose you have 1 2 5, then you do map, or you want to print, so you just do a for each print again. So what happens, 1 to 5, it takes the range. So 1 to 5 means it will by default increment by 1. So 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, 5. That's why, so 1 2 3 4 5, this becomes a collection of range, and then you do a for each println, similar to what we did with array, right? Array of 1 2 3 4 5, then for each println. But here I am not mentioning each elements. So suppose I want 1 to 10, I want to print it, but I want to increment it by 3. So what I am saying, 1 to 10 by 3 for each printer. So check what happens. The default increment, which is 1, when we use 2, it is now overridden by 3. So after 1, what comes is 4, because 1 plus 3 is 4. Then 4 plus 3, the next element should be incremented by 3, right? So 4 plus 3 7, and 7 plus 3 10. So this is how. So if I just want to check how to deal with this, this is basically called range. So I want a val r equals to 1 to 100 by 20, or suppose I say 2, just to show you. So instead of writing 1 then 3, something like that, you can just define it like this and check. You have a range declared from 1 to 99, which increments by 2. So 1 3 5 7 9. So basically all the odd numbers you got. What if you give 3? Sorry. 1 2 1 until 100 by 4. Okay, so what happens? Okay, let me just remove the 4 part. I just show 1 until 100. So what is the difference between to and until keyword? So if I say 1 until 10, so 1 to 99 it prints, but if I say 1 to 100, it will do 1 to 100. So when you give until, so it will stop the range before this number. So it stops at 99. But when you say 2, it goes to 100 and then it stops. So that is the basic difference. If you want, so suppose you are handling index, right? Then in that case it will help you to use until, because when you have 10 elements, the last index is not 10, right? Because your index starts with 0, so you want to stop at the last element minus 1. So in that case it will help. So the 100th element index should be 99, right? So in that case, based on your use case, you can use whether you want to use until or to. Okay, so same thing using for loop. They have used a range, and then they printed this x, and same thing until. So they have used until. So when they used two, it printed 1 2 3 4 5. But when they used until, they only this for loop printed only till 4, because it is until. So basically this is 1 to 4 and then printed, and because it's used 2, so it's 1 2 3 4 5. That's why it printed 5 times. Pretty much the same thing of for loop. So we can just skip this part. Okay, function. So in the beginning, when we were explaining the class definition and the main method, I already described you and showed you how to define a function. So here we'll just go through these lines and understand. A function is a group of statements that perform a task. You can divide up your code into separate functions. How you divide up your code among different functions is up to you, but logically the division usually is so that each function performs a specific task. So in a programmer's as a programmer, when you define your application, all the operations you want to segregate and put it into a separate function. So rather than putting all the statements that you want to execute inside a single function, you want to give it a unique name so that it can be understandable that what kind of operation you want to perform. Based on that name, you want to segregate your code into different functions, and wherever you need those statements or the body of that function to be executed, you just call it accordingly. So you can create a function with the def keyword. We already saw that when we were explaining the definition. So I'll just go through this examples. Def my function. So def is the keyword, my function is the name of the function. The first, it is taking two arguments. So first one is this part is the variable name, then the type of the variable integer, and again the second variable name, the type of the variable, the string type. Similar structure, and the braces closed and equals to, starting with the curly braces, the body of your function. It is just printing the first integer argument here, employee number, and then employee name. This is the second argument passed. uh, you can simply remove this semicolon because it's not needed. They have given it here, so you can just skip it. So here so this is the definition part, and this is calling it. So passing it the integer and the string, and it prints the employee number and employee name. So same thing we have already covered there. Named and default arguments. So we can provide defaults to functional arguments which will be used in case no value is provided to function call. We can specify arguments names in function call. We have covered it. We can mix unnamed and named arguments. If the unnamed arguments is the first one, we can specify argument name in function call. We'll see it with the example. We can mix unnamed and named arguments if the unnamed argument is the first one. Okay, the named invocation, the order of argument is not necessary, so I'll just show it here. What does it mean? So this is my function. Okay, I'll just make it true. So what I'm doing in this function is this. Okay, so this is my function which is taking a single string. Okay, and suppose I want to declare a second argument str2, which is also string type, and what it will do is just do a concatenation. Suppose str1 plus str2, just do a concatenation. And so what is happening here is, suppose I'll show it using a variable val new str equals to, now I want to call this function and store whatever is written in this variable and then print. So my function, how normally we pass is, we can pass the first argument. So I will say Scala, okay, then the second argument spark, okay, and I'll just remove this part. I don't want this to be printed here. Okay, so print ln new str. So what is happening is, I'm just calling this function with the argument as my two strings and trying to print this variable. So what will happen? Scala and spark. This will be concatenated and printed here. Suppose I want to give this as integer, and here I will give 2. So still it will be able to concatenate it, right? Scala 2, right? So here what we maintained is the first argument is of string type, the second argument being integer type. But suppose I have a function which is taking up, suppose 10, 12 or 15 arguments. Okay, you may have such a situation where you are passing so many variables as your argument, and you want to use all those arguments and then use it in your function declaration and then perform some operations here. So in that case, it will be tough for you to remember the order in which you have declared your functions, right? So here by default you have maintained the order how you have provided in the definition. What if I want to pass 2 first and then a string? Scala. It will give you my error, right? Cannot resolve reference my function with such signature, because it doesn't suit the signature, because it is expecting first argument as string, the second being integer, right? But I can do something like this: str2 equals to 2 and str1 equals to Scala. Now check. Now in this case I have just mentioned the variable name, and I can just swap the order in any way. So if I have 3 variables, I can put it in any permutation combination, but I have to just mention which variable, the variable name, and then I can just swap the order and then call the function. it does the same thing. So this is one way of calling your function, where you can simply put your variable name and then assign the value which you are passing and then printing it. Okay, so okay, order. So in named invocation, the order argument is not necessary. So that is what in named arguments we are passing the arguments with the name. So that's why order is not necessary. You can just do it in any order. We can mix unnamed and named argument if the unnamed argument is the first one. So basically, what it is saying, suppose you have three arguments, str1, str2, str3. You want to pass the first one as your string, then you can just pass it something like this, and str2. On this one, Spark. So the mixture is also supported. So first one, you know the first one, that text string, so you're not mentioning str1, and the second one you just mentioned. So mixture is also possible with one named and without the name. Okay, so variable arguments, Scala supports variable number of arguments to a function. Yeah, so procedures, Scala has a special notation for a function that returns no value. So we'll check this part, how it is done. If the function body is enclosed in braces without a preceding equals to sign. So till now, whatever function definition we have given an equal sign, right? So if you don't give an equal sign, then the return type is unit. So you can say the void type in Java. Such a function is called a procedure. Okay. So you can call a function without, when you declare a function without an equals to, then that function is called a procedure. So what it is doing, it's the same keyword def, name of the function, and then argument type. So no return type and no equals to sign, just curly braces, and then inside that you just want to print something, right? So we'll check. So check this. The return type is coming as unit. So we'll do it in shell. So def my str is my name. I take str as my argument of string type. Okay. No equals to no return type. I just want to do a print ln of str. So check this. My str is a function, and it takes str of string type as argument and returns unit. Okay. Okay. So my str spark and str. So it prints. So basically, if we don't give a signature equal to sign over here and maintain this signature, then it will be a procedure. So basically, that is the only difference between a proper function and a procedure. Okay, so function declaration. Uh, so yeah, so pretty much the repeat of what we did. So only this procedure part, which was we didn't cover that time. So this procedure and with the function. So that's the difference. So we'll jump into the collections. No, so this is the most important part, which we can relate when we go to Spark. That most of the stuff which we will do, which will cover in Scala collections, it is the most important thing for the Spark functionality, because as the name suggests, collections of data. So collections is what? Collection of your data, right? And when we are talking about big data, definitely it has to be a collection. It cannot be a single element, right? So collections operations, whatever we are going to do, it will be helpful when we go to Spark programming. So in Scala collections, it has a rich set of collection library. Collection are containers of things. Those containers can be sequenced linear sets of items like list, tuple, options, map. We'll see. So you know of list and map if you're coming from Java. So this tuple and options, which are new in Scala, if you compare it with Java. The collections may have an arbitrary number of elements or be bounded by 0 or 1 element. So basically this is the structure of the hierarchy. So from traversable you have sequence, iterable to sequence, index sequence, linear sequence. Similarly, we have this structure, the hierarchy of collection in Java, the same kind of architecture with some new elements or new data types. So you have something called sequence over here. Then you have a set you already have in Java. You have map. So basically, we are going to use this for this three sequence set map from this diagram, and we have already used array. We'll see example of list. Okay, so okay, so for this collection part, I have one good documents actually. I was speaking about Twitter, right? So Twitter has very good small and precise documentation about collection. So it's the best I found. So I just made a copy of that. I think it will help us a lot. So if you just go through it, it is very much self-explanatory, you can say. Uh, Scala collections. Okay, so I'm sure you can you just respond that whether you're able to see the screen now or not. Collection types. Okay. Dipti says yes. Chang says yes. Hari says yes. Gopi says yes. Okay. I think Andrew. Andrew, are you back from the break or you are still in break? I didn't get any response from you. Okay, Andrew says yes. Okay, great. Okay, so collections. You have array. So array preserves an order, can contain duplicates and are mutable. So when I say array are mutable, that means just these examples are self-explanatory. You have declared a val numbers, array of some integer type, so array of int. So the same number array, you can just pass the index as 3 and we want to change the array element on the fourth position. So basically 0, 1, 2, 3. So we'll just copy this and execute it one by one. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So I now want to change the fourth element. So basically passing the index. So if I say numbers, so check the 0, 1, 2, 3. The 4 has been replaced with 10. So by default array, whether I have declared it as val or not, so I have declared it as val, but array itself in Scala is mutable. So this is something, if in any case you want a collection where you want to update your collections, then you should go for array. Okay, I have one question. Okay. Oh, Andrew saying thanks. Okay, great. So this is the array type, and this is one of the property of array that by default the array in Scala collections, it is mutable. Okay, whether you declare is even val, still array element, you can just change it with the index. Okay, so you have list. So the difference between array and list is list preserves order. So this is the similarity. can contain duplicates. It is also the similarity with array, but the thing is it is immutable. So the same thing if you do want to do with the uh, list, then it will give you an error. So we'll just do it. List. So I want to change the fourth element in a list. So it gives the same error, value update is not a member of list. So you cannot update, so it is immutable. So most of the case you don't want to use array because you don't want your data to be changed, but in some cases where you need to update something, so based on the use case, you have the you can go for array. But mostly uh, we will prefer using list because you want the immutability to be maintained. So irrespective of whether it's a val or var, this array and list property, you can say this is the only difference. This array is mutable and list is immutable. Now you have set do not preserve order and have no duplicates. So in list or in array you can have duplicates, right? So 1 2 again you have repeat 1 2. So you the duplicates are can be stored over here. But in set, if you declare 1 2 3 4 again 1 2 3 4 5, it will only take the unique values, right? So no repetition is allowed. So same thing, I will just copy it. And so I'm while declaring, I'm passing duplicate values, but when it comes, check this. This only has a single occurrence, so it just removes the duplicates. So again, based on the use case, you want to use whether you want to use set or you want to use array or you want to use list. And you have something called tuple in Scala, so it's very useful. A tuple groups together simple logic collections of items without using a class. Okay, so it is a named, you can say class, so where you can have multiple types of arguments. So basically mix of arguments, data types. So first, so in this example, I have something called uh, localhost, which is a string, and then 80 is my integer type. So I'll just declare it here tuple. Okay, so your host port is the variable name, and it says check the type how it is declaring. So enclosed in a bracket you have something mix of two types, right? So I can also do something like this, tuple 2. It is the same as this, but here I am not mentioning tuple 2. So I'll just go back to id and do it so that I can show you what is actually tuple 2. Okay, so basically again we are not writing tuple 2 by default, based on the number of elements passed into this bracket. It is saying whether I am using tuple 2 or what. So if you just go here, so tuple 2, a tuple of two elements. So this is, I am reading from the documentation, a tuple of two elements, the canonical representation of a scalar product. So this is something, so it has two elements, tuple 2. What if I want a tuple 3? So I want another element that is of double type. So this is my double type. Check, it's giving error. Why? Because I have said I have declared tuple 2, but I have passed three different elements, right? Different or similar, it's not like you have, it has to be different. I can also pass all string or all integer or mix of data types. So in this case I have to do a tuple 3 only, then it will work, right? So previously it was giving compilation error, now it's fine. So rather than mentioning tuple 2, tuple 3, you just remove it. By default it will take it again, type inference, and whether you want another element again, suppose a cat type. So C is my char. So check this, if I declare this, so it is a tuple 4 string in double char and the values. So basically this is a tuple declaration. So how you access your tuple, basically, for we saw that for array or collections we used for each and map to traverse through the collections and access. So I have suppose this tuple 4 which has string int double and char. So I want to access the third element, so this double, right? So what I will do, first write the tuple variable name host port. Now unlike collections where you access elements to index which starts with 0, in tuple it is also kind of a same thing, but it is not, it doesn't start with 0, it starts with 1. So if I want a fourth element or the third element, in this case I want to access third element, I'll just write a dot, I will give an underscore and 3. So that means I want the double elements, right? So check, I accessed only the double value out of this tuple 4. Similarly, I want the last element, I give a 4, I get a character C. But what if I give 5? I don't have 5, right? So it says value 5 is not a member of this because it doesn't have. So similarly, if you give you have an array of 0 to 4, sorry, 1 to 5, which has an index of 0 to 4, and if you want to access the fifth element, it will give you array out of bound index exception. So similarly, same thing, array of so tuple 4, you want to access the elements, you can just give the variable name dot underscore and which the position of the element, but it's not an index type. So the first one should be 1, the second one should be 2. So 1 is the string, it gives you the string. Okay, so tuple is done. Now we have something called switch cases. So yeah, so basically you know about switch cases in Java and any other language you have switch case. So here the same thing, what it is doing is, so I already have the tuple element, I accessed it using underscore 1 underscore 2, and you want to do a pattern matching. Okay, uh, just get like this and show it in IntelliJ. So what I'm saying is host port match. If my wait, I have to give it a variable. So empty. Okay. Then I will say print. I'll just return some value. Okay, I'll just return a string and store it in BRB. So tuple 2. Okay. In this case, basically host port is tuple 4, so I cannot give a value. So basically this is a single value for this tuple. So I previously from the example I was passing tuple 2, that's why it was giving error, right? So I want to check the values. So this is like the same as how it is has been assigned with all these values, and here just I will change this 90, or even if I change one value it will be fine. Don't know. And do a print ln of BR. So what will happen? I'll just comment it out. Don't want to print all this stuff. Okay. Check, it's printing this. So what I did, I declared I have a variable of tuple 4 having all these values, right? So I want to check now this here I have defined it, but in real case you will be having this data coming from other sources, so you don't know the data, right? So you want to do a check. So instead of if else, this is what it is used in Scala. So basically you will do something like this. This is the syntax of pattern matching. So you will first say the variable name for which you want to do the pattern matching. You will write a match keyword. So check this also in IntelliJ. Most this color is very important. So most of the keywords, if you see that the object is a keyword, extend, val, where, def, okay, all these keywords coming uh, in orange color. So this will also help you to understand which are my keywords. So match a keyword, then you enclose it with curly braces. This is my first case. So first case is saying localhost 80, so it matches this. So that's why it is printing tuple 2, right? Okay. Okay, so what if I change it to 800? Now in this case, when it comes to this line it will not match, right? And in this case also it will not match. So anyway it will not match, I don't know. So what I can do is I can give something like underscore. So what it means is default. So in Java switch case you use default, right? Something like this. So by default, if this doesn't match, it will by default come to this and it will say don't know. All right. So it will not match this time, and it's printing don't know because this one was value doesn't match with this value. So it's coming to this by default underscore, you can say, and it's printing this. It's storing the don't know value, return to brb. So brb is a string variable because in both the cases I am returning string, and this string is getting printed over here. This is how you can use your pattern matching. Any question on pattern matching? Okay, I'll just move. Okay. Okay, so okay, I have someone here. Yeah, we can definitely check types. So in that case, suppose. So when you say types means type of data. So Chang, are you asking that? Okay, yes. So suppose this is a tuple 4, right? So basically when it comes to switch case, I can check it by a value, right? So I'm passing a value and checking whether it matches with the value. So if you are looking for data type match, then you have to match with the variable, right? So case takes the value, not the variables. In that case, you have something like this: if host port dot is, there is a function called is instance of, it's asking is instance of tuple 4. Okay, so let me do it like this. I'll just comment this part. So this is a question from Chang. I want to check whether my host port is tuple 2 or tuple 4, suppose. So I want to say tuple 4. Okay. Else I will say don't know. Okay. So check I can store this into the same brb variable. Okay. Okay. So what it is doing is, so brb is going to check, brb is a string variable, but depending on this condition. So this is the important thing, important line. It's saying whether my host port is instance of tuple 4. So if it is tuple 4, it is going to return tuple 4 as string, and it's going to be stored in brb, or else it will say don't know. So check what is happening here. Okay, so tuple 4 checking is something we have to do it in a different way. So uh, we have already crossed that time, so just for the example sake, I'll just do something like this. Scala, a simple variable. So I will check a string. Okay, host port is a string variable. If it is supports string, or then don't know. Okay, so host port is of string type. I'm checking whether it is instead of string or not. If it is, then this will print this. So basically it's a boolean operation, is instance of, so it's a string. Okay, but what if I say 1? So this is now integer. So what it will happen in this case, what will happen? Do it here. I have some question that is in Java. So you saw when it checked the string type, it printed this part. We'll check why it's giving this. Yeah, we have string type, fine. So what you are saying, that is a class. So definitely I can, what Hari suggested is using a get class. So that when I use a get class, that is similar to Java. So I am using the Java function basically. So I don't want to use any function of Java. I want to explore what is there in Scala. So we can definitely do the get class, but that will be from Java. So what functionality do we have in Scala other than the uh, Java? So we are going to check that part. Okay. Okay, so when it is doing a string, then it is not an issue. Hmm. When it is string, then it is not giving the compilation runtime issue, but when it is uh, other than string, it is giving the 3.14. So when it is other than string, it is saying is instance of cannot test if value types are referenced. Okay, so what else we can do? So basically this is returning a string of the type. So so get name returns a string, so I have to do use equals ignore case string. So this time this is double. So basically this is from Java, get class get name, and this will return you the name, and then you will check. Okay, so using this Java functionality, definitely we can do this, but is instance of okay, I'll just check and I'll get back to you regarding is instance of. Okay, or else we can just do something like this, and the documentation is very rich. So is instance of string, you can just go to this. Okay, I'll just check and let you know. Yeah, get class and get name works, definitely works. So because we discussed that, that is Java, Scala supports all the Java functionality. So that's why I was trying to use the Scala checking of your data type, but I will just check why for other than string it is not working and get back to you. So or else you can simply go to the Java part and get class dot get name, and then the way I checked. So basically, get name will return you the data type in a string format, and then simply you can check how you check in string. So the equals or equals ignore case, whether it's string or char or something like that. So this is that part. Okay, so we have something called map, which is similar to Java map, but again by default the map we have in Scala, it is immutable. So we'll see how we can declare a map variable val my map of 1. So how, so map is what, it's a collection of key value pairs, right? So till now we know, we have seen that the array and list, it's elements which is singular elements. So I have, if I have array of strings, so it's only a uh, values that I'm going to represent, right? But in map, the value also has a key, so you can say it's a pair, right? So if I say 1 as my key and my value is a string 1, so what I will get, I'll get my map as my variable name, and check this whole package. It says Scala collections immutable map. Okay, immutable map of int string. So int being my key and string is my value. Okay. Similarly, I can also declare one more type, one more elements. So 2 and with the value string 2. Same thing. So what is the difference? So when we say immutable map, so I want to say my map, I want to update the key 1 with the new value 11 uh, string. So because my map value is of string type, I have to say string. So when I do it, it say value update is not a member of Scala immutable map, right? It's an immutable map. So what you want to do if you want a mutable map? So simply just copy this part, check. So in if you want mutability, then you have to import it like this and say that I want a mutable map. So basically in Scala the collections has two types. So the same array or same map, the same list, you will find it into two separate packages. The one package after collections, it is immutable and mutable. So both map, the structure is same but the property differs because this is immutable and this is mutable. So in Scala you have mutable map and one immutable map. Also you have immutable list, mutable list. You have mutable sequence, immutable sequence. Okay, so I have a question. Okay, so Hari has left. He has to go for some urgent work. So okay, so we are almost the end of our class. So map, so these are the two types of maps, and so when you say immutable map, in that case you can update your value. So it is done. Now if you just want to see whether you got your map updated, so check this. Your one key has a new value called 11. Previously it was a different value which was 1, so you have just replaced it with a different. So because it is mutable map, that's the difference, mutable and immutable. Okay, options, functional calls for each filter set. Okay, mutable immutable map. Array we have already covered in our introduction class. We have checked how to access array. So basically the difference between array and array buffer is an array buffer holds an array and a size. So most operations on an array buffer have the same speed as of the array because the operation simply access and modify the underlying array. Array buffer can have data efficiently added to the end. So the way you add data into your array and array buffer, it will differ because whatever data you're going to add with in your array buffer, the new array buffer, you can say, the element which you're going to add is going to append it. The way it will be different when you do an array. So let me just go through a small example, array of 1 comma 2, 1 comma 2. Okay, similarly I'll do array b f. So I have to import an array buffer, so we'll do it here. So check, this is a package. Array buffer comes from a mutable package, but if you do an array, it comes from a different package. So because I have this by default it is not part of, so if I just do an array, I don't need to import this package, but for array buffer you have to import a package. So by default this comes. So what I have to do is just in shell I have to do something like this. I have to mention the full package array buffer 1 2. Okay, so now what I want to do, val uh, o equals to arr. So in case of array buffer of string, you are just appending with using this keyword plus and equals to. Okay, uh, okay, just give me a moment for 1 minute. Guys, I'm back. So this is the way how you want to append a new element into your existing array, right? So plus and then, so if I want to add into this, I will just use plus equals to, I'll say this is 3. What it is saying, value is not a member of array, but the same thing I want to do with array buffer, array b. So this is something, what is the difference between array and array buffer. This is the way you can append a new element into array buffer. So if you want to append, you want to increase the size of your array kind of uh, variable, then use array buffer, and the way you insert it is also, it will be maintained. So 3, if you want 4, same you will say 1 2 3. So the order is also maintained over here. So that's the basic difference between array and array buffer. So if you want to append it, you want then use array buffer. If you want the declaration, so when you declare, the size got fixed, so you cannot add some elements, extra elements. So that is array buffer, map. So options we will cover when we'll come to the next topic. So option is something very interesting, uh, which is a new thing in Scala, and some Scala related operations. So I said the for each and map we'll see when we come to collection. So as per today's topic list, we have only the types and the declarations. We'll see next class, so that is next Saturday, how we can manipulate these collections using several operations like for each. We have already seen for each and map. We'll see something called filter. We'll see something called fold and all those stuff. So pretty much all the operations we'll cover next weekend. Okay, so yeah, that's it for the day. We have already caused the time. It's now 11:20. So any questions before we close the class? Andrew said, thanks a lot. Welcome, Andrew. And what about Chang, Dipti? No questions. Chang, do we need to give webinar link next week? Okay. So this is for. Thanks for reminding me. So this is something which I was informed. So I think you have already seen this page. Yeah, you must have got this link. So basically the this 2 days class what we covered yesterday and today, this was an introductory class. So basically if you want to attend the next class, you have to enroll for the whole course. So just go to this link and you can see, just contact the creative people. They will give you the whole stuff. So as per the offer, it's saying $300. So once you enroll with this price, you will be able to attend the rest of the classes, and the whole Scala and Spark thing will be covered over there. So is that fine with you? So just if you want to enroll for the whole classes, just get in touch with the creative people. They will be able to help you with the whole process. Okay, Andrew says thanks. Okay, so yeah, so the only information that I have is, yeah, so Spark introduction, everything, whatever basics that we covered in yesterday's module, that is the only thing we have. So everything after, if you enroll for the whole classes, then we will definitely get the Spark introduction, the whole architecture and how it works, in memory and everything. So for those who paid only for the introductory class, these two classes has been assigned for them, and rest of the people who enroll, who are going to enroll or who has already enrolled for the whole classes, they can continue from next week. So we'll start with the whole collections operations, and then we'll quickly move into the Spark architecture and rest of the Spark topic. So is that fine? Yeah. So Gopi says thanks. Welcome. Same for Andrew. Same for Chang. Same for Deepthi. And Hari has already left, so I was not able to give him this information. I will just tell it to the Creo people to communicate with him. So yeah, okay. Thanks for being with me for, because I again extended the class 20 minutes. Okay, see you next weekend. Have a great day and have a great week ahead. See you next Saturday. Thank you, Gopi. Thank you, Chang. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Dipti. Good night. Bye bye.